Dark Chosen One, this 5D quantum field holds your true shadow power. You've been told that your darkness is a liability, that your rage, your grief, your chaos, your intensity are things to be healed, soothed, quieted. But what if I told you that everything you've been taught to suppress is not your weakness, it's your entry point to power? What if the very parts of you that you've tried to hide are the keys to unlocking a reality that most people are too afraid to even look at? You are not here to be palatable. You are not here to fit into the narratives of love and light spirituality that avoid the raw, messy, uncomfortable truths. You are here to embody the field that holds it all. And that field? It exists beyond time. It exists beyond identity. It is the 5D quantum field that holds your true shadow power. Now let's be honest, most people are manifesting from fear. They want to heal so they can finally be loved. They want to be spiritual so they can finally feel safe. They want to ascend so they can escape the density of this world. But you didn't come here to escape. You came here to enter fully, to descend, to remember why the dark was part of your design. Because the truth is, the shadow isn't where your power disappears, it's where your power is stored. And the 5D field, that's not a fantasy realm floating in the clouds, it's a living intelligence, a vibrational grid that responds not to your performance, but to your presence. And when a dark chosen one steps into that field in full coherence, without flinching, without pretending, something extraordinary begins to happen. Reality starts to bend, not through force, but through frequency.
Click subscribe to this channel to get more profound spiritual lesson.
So let me ask you, have you felt it? Have you felt the pull towards something deeper than self-improvement? Have you felt the strange magnetism of your own darkness? The way your emotions intensify in sacred spaces? The way your thoughts sometimes feel like they're not even yours? That's not dysfunction, that's activation. That's you brushing up against the edge of the field, feeling the pressure of your own unclaimed power trying to emerge. And if you've made it this far, if you're still watching, still listening, still feeling, then you're not just another seeker. You are a carrier of codes. You are a disruptor of timelines. You are someone who didn't come here to play the game, you came to rewrite it. But here's the twist. The field doesn't respond to what you want, it responds to what you are. That's why affirmations don't work when your frequency is distorted. That's why vision boards fall flat when your nervous system is wired in survival. That's why you can say, "I am powerful" all day long, but if your body is carrying shame, the field will respond to the shame, not the words. The 5D quantum field is pure mirror. It doesn't judge, it doesn't filter, it doesn't care about your intentions. It reflects your energetic signature, the totality of your being, conscious and unconscious. And for the dark chosen ones, this is both a gift and a responsibility. Because we are not allowed to bypass. We are not allowed to fake it. Our path is one of total integration. And integration means going into the places most people avoid. It means confronting the parts of you that want revenge, the parts that hate, the parts that feel unsafe in love, the parts that still long to belong, even while pretending not to care. It means looking at your own manipulation, your own control patterns, your own spiritual elitism, not to shame yourself, never that, but to reclaim the energy that has been trapped in those distortions. Because every shadow is just a power source that hasn't yet been understood. Every wound is a portal. Every trigger is a doorway. And the 5D field is listening. It's always listening, not to your words, but to your vibration. So how do you enter it consciously? How do you stop manifesting from your wounding and start creating from your full spectrum power? First, you slow down. You stop trying to fix yourself. You stop trying to be more spiritual. You stop using rituals as distractions, and you start listening deeply, honestly. You sit with your anger without making it wrong. You let your grief speak. You ask your fear what it's protecting you from. You become intimate with your shadow. You learn its language. You learn to distinguish between the voice of trauma and the voice of truth. And then something radical happens. The field begins to trust you because you're not pretending anymore. The 5D quantum field is not a reward. It's a mirror of coherence. When your inner world becomes unified, when your light and your dark stop fighting each other, the field opens. Timelines collapse. Synchronicities accelerate. Manifestation becomes effortless. Not because you're trying to control outcomes, but because you've aligned with your true signature. You're no longer broadcasting mixed signals. You've become a clear channel. And that clarity is magnetic, not just to money or love or status, but to truth, to destiny, to the version of you that remembers why you incarnated in the first place. And here's the deepest truth. Your shadow power isn't meant to be tamed. It's meant to be wielded with integrity, with purpose, with precision. You are not here to be safe. You are here to be true. And truth is disruptive. Truth doesn't always feel good. Truth doesn't always win followers, but truth liberates. And in the 5D field, truth is the only currency that matters. So I ask you now, not as a guru, not as a performer, but as someone who has walked through fire, are you willing to stop performing alignment and actually embody it? Are you willing to stop trying to be light and start becoming whole? Are you ready to enter the 5D field not as a seeker, but as a sovereign being who remembers that nothing was ever missing? Because if you are, then what's coming next is not just a teaching, it's a transmission, a frequency, a reminder of who you really are. Shadow alchemy, how to turn suppressed power into quantum creation. There's a reason your shadow has always felt so intense. There's a reason your emotions have overwhelmed rooms, relationships, even your own body. It's because your shadow isn't just a container of pain. It's a reservoir of raw, unrefined creation energy. And until you learn how to engage it with awareness, it will either leak and sabotage everything you're building, or it will remain asleep, burning quietly beneath the surface of your life, waiting for permission to rise. Shadow alchemy is the process of turning that sleeping chaos into conscious power. It's the sacred art of transforming suppressed energy into fuel that can bend time, collapse old identities, and unlock the 5D quantum field in real time. And it's not a concept, it's a practice, a vibration, a frequency of full ownership. Let's get something clear. We don't do shadow work just to feel better. We do it to become whole. We don't just want to regulate our nervous system so we can function in society. We want to liberate our nervous system so we can create new worlds. That's the difference between healing for survival and alchemizing for sovereignty. Most people are stuck in the first layer. They do the inner work so they can stop the pain. The chosen ones are called deeper. We don't just want to feel okay, we want to activate the dormant codes buried inside the pain. We want to use everything: the rage, the grief, the shame, the guilt, not as obstacles, but as gateways. You see, the 5D field doesn't care whether your energy is positive or negative. It only responds to coherence. If your rage is coherent, if your grief is coherent, meaning if you've integrated it, listened to it, allowed it to move cleanly through your field, then it becomes a source of power. It becomes a frequency amplifier. But when you suppress it, deny it, judge it, or spiritualize it away, it becomes static. It clogs your field, it distorts your signal, and then you wonder why your manifestations feel delayed, why your visions don't land, why your energy feels heavy even after the rituals and meditations. It's because you're trying to create from a split field, and the field doesn't lie. So how do we begin the alchemy? First, we stop outsourcing our safety. We stop waiting for the world to be stable before we give ourselves permission to feel powerful. We stop waiting for the perfect conditions to drop into truth, because the truth is always available. And when you meet your shadow with presence, without trying to fix it, without trying to change it, something extraordinary happens. It unlocks, it begins to reveal its original form, which is raw life force energy. That same energy that once felt like destruction becomes the very current that fuels your next evolution. You start to realize that your rage was never the problem, it was the boundary you never learned to set. Your shame was never yours, it was absorbed from a system that profits off your silence. Your fear wasn't weakness, it was sensitivity that hadn't yet matured into discernment. And when you reclaim these energies, they don't just shift your mood, they shift your magnetism. Your field becomes denser, more radiant, more directive. You're no longer throwing fragmented intentions into the void, you're transmitting clear signals into the quantum field, and that field responds fast. Opportunities begin to appear that match your new frequency. People start showing up who feel like soul family. Resources organize around your intention. Why? Because now you're not leaking energy into the past. You're not trying to fix your brokenness. You're wielding your wholeness. But here's the catch. This level of creation requires radical responsibility. You can no longer blame your circumstances. You can no longer hide behind your trauma. You can no longer wait for someone to save you. You become the portal. You become the creator. And that level of power is terrifying to the parts of you that still want to be rescued. That's why shadow alchemy isn't a one-time initiation. It's a daily devotion. You wake up and ask, what have I been unwilling to feel? You sit with the discomfort. You breathe into the resistance. You track the sensations. You stop looking for answers and start listening for truth. And the truth is this: your shadow is not your enemy. It's your engine. It holds the blueprint of your most potent expression. And when you learn how to harness it, not by controlling it, but by channeling it, you become unignorable. Not because you're louder, but because your field is clearer. Your presence speaks louder than any words. You walk into a space and timelines shift. You speak and reality rearranges. Not because you're performing, but because you're embodied. So I ask you now, what part of your shadow are you still afraid to meet? What power have you buried so deeply under shame that you've forgotten it was yours to begin with? Are you willing to stop waiting for the light to save you and start using your darkness as the very thing that awakens you? Because when you do, the quantum field doesn't just respond, it aligns, it organizes, it bends in your favor. Not because you forced it, but because you finally matched it. Timeline dominance. How dark chosen ones collapse false realities and anchor the truth. To truly walk as a dark chosen one is to know that you are not just moving through time, you are shaping it. You're not here to passively exist inside someone else's version of reality. You are here to collapse illusions and anchor timelines that reflect the deeper truth of who we are as multidimensional creators. Most people live inside inherited scripts, generational beliefs, societal expectations, emotional patterns, thinking they're making choices when in fact they're just reacting to programming. But you were born to disrupt that programming. You were born not to follow the timeline, but to bend it. Timeline dominance isn't about control, it's about alignment. It's the skill of tuning your energy so precisely that reality has no choice but to reorganize itself around your frequency. This is not about wishful thinking or trying to micromanage outcomes. This is about becoming so clear in your field, so anchored in your shadow and your light, that timelines that are incoherent with your truth begin to collapse on their own. Jobs dissolve, relationships fall away, old identities disintegrate, and it's not because you pushed them out, it's because your field no longer sustains the illusion. You've become incompatible with distortion, and since distortion becomes incompatible with reality, you are incompatible with reality. A house does not become aga so long as tente. But this level of power requires something most people avoid: grief. Because to collapse timelines, you must be willing to let go of the versions of yourself that built them. You must be willing to release the comfort of your old identity. The ego doesn't fear the unknown, it fears becoming nothing. And yet, that nothing is the very space where creation begins, the void, the 0 point field. The moment where you stop trying to keep it all together and instead allow it all to fall apart so the real can emerge. That's where timeline dominance begins, not in the mind, but in the nervous system, in your ability to stay regulated, grounded, sovereign, while everything false around you burns. So what does it look like in practice? It means you stop negotiating with energies that dilute you. You stop entertaining relationships that require you to fragment yourself. You stop compromising your truth just to maintain peace. Because peace built on self-abandonment isn't peace, it's spiritual sedation. And the field knows the difference. It means you walk away from timelines that no longer match your frequency, even when you don't know what's next. That's the initiation, the leap, the quantum edge. And when you take it, the field responds, not with chaos, but with convergence. All the scattered pieces of your life begin to rearrange around your new center. This is not about reacting to the world. It's about projecting your inner coherence into it. You stop asking, what's going to happen to me? And start asking, what am I choosing to be a match for? You don't wait for signs, you become the signal. You don't wait for opportunities, you become the portal. And the more you lean into this, the more you realize that time itself becomes fluid. You'll experience accelerated manifestations, rapid endings, instant redirections, not because the universe is speeding up, but because you are no longer lagging behind your own frequency. But here's the paradox. The more power you hold, the less you need to use it. When you're truly dominant in your timeline, you don't fight, you witness. You don't resist the illusion, you withdraw your energy from it. You don't try to fix the old world, you anchor the new one. And that anchoring isn't done through argument or performance, it's done through embodiment. You become the calm in the chaos, the clarity in confusion, the signal of truth in a sea of noise, and people feel it. They may not understand it, they may project onto it, but they'll feel it because the frequency of someone who has collapsed, every false self, is undeniable. So let me ask you, what timelines are you still holding on to because they feel familiar, not because they feel true? What versions of yourself are you still performing just to avoid the death that precedes your next rebirth? And are you willing, really willing, to let it all collapse, not for destruction, but for recalibration? Because once you do, you'll see that timeline dominance isn't about power over others, it's about sovereignty within yourself. And when that sovereignty becomes your default state, the universe can no longer ignore you. The final unlock, becoming a living code of shadow-light coherence in the 5D grid. There is a moment on the chosen one's path where everything begins to converge. The pain, the purpose, the power, the paradox. You realize that it was never about becoming someone else. It was about remembering who you already are, beneath the masks, beyond the roles, outside of time. The final unlock isn't about gaining more knowledge or accumulating spiritual tools. It's about embodying the frequency of your full self, the light and the shadow, in a way that transmits truth so clearly into the 5D grid that you become a living code. Not just a person, not just a teacher, but a signal, a walking resonance that bends reality around your presence. When you reach this level, something irreversible happens. You no longer seek safety in external systems, ideologies, or identities. You don't need the old structures to validate you. You don't need the old timelines to survive. You've become your own source. And because of that, you stop living reactively. You're not scanning the world for affirmation. You're radiating your essence into the field, constantly, coherently, unapologetically. Every breath becomes a transmission. Every moment a mirror, every decision a declaration of your vibration. This is where the 5D grid truly reveals itself, not as a place you arrive at, but as a frequency you plug into. It's a quantum architecture of truth, coherence, and alignment, and it responds not to your performance, but to your authenticity. The more you live in integrity with your full spectrum, the parts of you that shine and the parts of you that have survived the dark, the more the grid reorganizes your life around that truth. You attract people, resources, and opportunities that don't just match your desires, they match your essence. But this embodiment doesn't come from constant effort. It comes from stillness, from presence, from deep nervous system safety. You no longer chase activation, you become a stable frequency of activation. You no longer seek breakthroughs, you exist inside the frequency where breakthroughs happen naturally. This changes everything. You stop looking for the next step and realize I am the step. I am the path. I am the portal. Reality evolves through me, not around me, and this is the real power of the dark chosen one. You don't bypass your shadow, you bring it with you into the light. You don't pretend to be pure, you embody paradox. You are rage and compassion, grief and joy, emptiness and fullness. You are not here to be easy to understand, you are here to be undeniably real. And that reality, your embodied truth, is what unhooks others from illusion, not by preaching, but by being. When they stand in your field, they remember something ancient, something buried, something pure. This is the final unlock. You become the code. You don't just talk about coherence, you live it. You don't just integrate your shadow, you wield it with grace. You don't just access the 5D field, you anchor it here, in your body, in your voice, in your choices. You are no longer becoming, you are no longer seeking. You are the transmission. So let me ask you, perhaps for the last time, can you hold your power without collapsing into ego? Can you hold your shadow without collapsing into shame? Can you hold your truth so deeply that the world around you has no choice but to evolve in response? Because if you can, then you are no longer just a student of this path. You are no longer just a receiver. You have become a source point, a living node of coherence in the 5D field. And from this place, everything is possible. You are the dark chosen one, and your time is now.